Initially, when I thought of a trach, when they talked to me about the trach, they said, in the future, you would have to, decide whether or not to trach your child. And I'm thinking, no, after seeing that little girl, and the way I thought of it at that point was cutting a hole in my son's throat. No, there's no way. And when he was 11 months old, he kept getting sick. He was on the BiPAP, and we kept ending up back in the hospital. And in February, which wasn't that long later, they said they tried to extubate him, take him off the vent, and they were unsuccessful. And they said, you have to make a decision. Are we going to let him go and do comfort care, or do you want to trach him and put him on a vent? So I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to answer that question because my no from before was no longer on the table, because losing my son, letting him go, I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to do that. So they were both bad choices. So I thank God I had my faith, because I prayed every night for 5 days. I said, God, you have to make this decision. I cannot make this decision. I went back and I told the nurses, I'm ready for the PAC team, sat down with them, and I said, we're going to get the trach. So we did. And afterwards, I was so grateful that we had gotten the trach, because Alex had been so weak and he was always struggling, and, the breathing was just hard. And after he was put on the vent, he was so much stronger in so many other ways, because he didn't have to struggle to breathe so much. And I remember a few years ago, because we were living in this house, so Zoe had already been born, so it may have been 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I was walking through Alex's room, and he had been sick for a while. And I remember thinking to myself, I didn't say anything. He didn't have a nurse that day. I was his nurse. And I was walking through his room thinking, did I really do what was best for him? And I immediately heard the voice say, you didn't make that decision. And so I immediately looked up and said, that's right, I didn't. So I didn't have that guilt that, did I do what? It's so hard to make life and death decisions for your child.
It seems very weird for somebody, but he's got this cute face, and not that it's just about looks, but it's not going to extend his quality of life. It's just going to add more to our plate. I have, Isaiah, who would be ripping out a trach. I have a dog with, that's around him with and they're close. When you see them downstairs, they're all together, Avery, Isaiah, and the dog. It would have added more madness to our life. And so not only the look, but Isaiah, he pulls his central line on a regular basis. It just wasn't fitting with our family system. And I had to really decide that what was he going to gain out of it? And any decision that I make for Avery and Isaiah is what is going to be the gain for it? And while, him not having a trach, yes, we have to do deep nasal suctioning and all that stuff, but we figure it out. I just feel like if it's not going to gain him enough, and it's not going to help his quality of life, then it's just not for us.